this last round. We'll see how things go. Because I'm not usually a very political poet, but I thought with this poem I would be. And it's heavily issue driven, and hopefully you can relate to it as being artists here in British Columbia. It's entitled, Why Stephen Harper and Gordon Campbell Hate Funding the Arts, aka flatulence. It's also called Why David Campbell Hates It. And he hasn't even heard it. He's scared of bears. Anyway, why Stephen Harper and Gordon Campbell hate funding for the arts, aka flatulence. Accessible, accessible. Accessible, accessible. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Act sensible, act sensible. Deranged deity, free-range chicken. Deranged deity, free-range chicken. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Poing. Art is the axe. Art is the axe for the...
Oh, God.
Art is the axe for the frozen sea inside us. Kafka. Break, 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 whoop, whoop, whoop. Accessible, accessible, poing. Act sensible, act sensible. Deranged deity, free-range chicken. Deranged deity, free-range chicken. Ecstatic, erratic, schematic, running around like a nudist with his dick cut off.
Oh.
Schematic, erratic, phlegmatic, dramatic.
It's giving me one.
He's posing as a Rodin statue.
Yeah. The thinker. But it's more like the stinker.
I received a grant for this.
You should see this when he does this in the station at the radio.
Dead air.
Yeah. Phone calls.
I have a chest for radio.
I can see that.
Okay, so. So the last piece I'm going to do is there was a statue. I do lots of stuff about things that aren't here anymore. If you hadn't noticed that, it's weird. There was a statue down near the Weston Bay Shore at one time. That was this larger than life-size statue of a rabbit with a woman with a rabbit's head, or a rabbit with a woman's body, if you want to if you prefer, and over the shoulder with a greyhound slumped over the shoulder. It was a beautiful piece, and I don't know if people know this, but a lot of the public art that you see is actually on loan. And so one day I used to ride my bike along there pretty much 2 times a week or so, and one time we went around the corner and the statue wasn't there, and actually it's now in Bath, England, this statue. Wow. Yeah. So the statue is called Lady Hare Holding Greyhound, and this poem is about it.
What did you call the poem?
That's the poem too. Amazing name. Worked out that way. And by the way, the statue is by Sophie Ryder. Her name. The foundation she once stood on cradling him is a grey concrete, inhuman clear-cut. A desolate summit in the rich green mound of grass. This a thankless gravestone with no epitaph to pay tribute to them, to her, to the loss I am feeling, to that artist's skill when she shaped the two of them, the hound's draped surrender at the hands of its victim, he so small compared to her, she a truly statuesque beauty, quick-thinking rabbit head on full-figured woman body. And despite the tough molten metal of their hides and the blindness of her eyes in this poor sculptured excuse for a briar patch, she was the best of humanity and something I had counted on. Her absence just one more disappointment. Hers was the courage to stave off the dog-eat-dough delusions of this monstrous city and these mad days. An example for fearmongers and nations and neighbors and families all turning on one another. Ignoring the treacherous stink of canine, she would lean in and whisper to him, "It's all right. So what if you are a dog? I still love you." She must have known the risk of holding her enemy so close, despite the axiom that that's just where you want him. Perhaps she remembered her own run-in with the tortoise, and it would make her smile to think of how foolish and prideful she must have been for thinking she could outrun the inevitable. And in this mean world of hard angles and broken asphalt, at what seems to be the end of my own run-ragged race, I came here looking for them. My back slumped, tail between my legs too, hoping to return to the garden where the lion lays down with the lamb and the rabbit comforts the greyhound, and found them both gone instead, trampled under construction boot, scared off by heavy machines that chew up compassion and spit it out as cement. Thank you.
All right, that was our last poems. So it's the, what? Not fast enough. So it's time for the final rounds of applause for Steve to catch up in the taking the clothes off department. Round of applause.
Or the full Monty.
I thought his name was Randy.
One more time. Steve Duncan. Or me.
Oh my God.